we're going to go to magic effects because these are the building blocks of a spell. Now, spells also apply, they're the same thing as abilities in some cases, i.e., you can attach a spell to a race, that kind of thing. Let's go to fire damage FF aimed because this is something that's already set up. What we're going to start off with is an aimed spell because we're going to manipulate the projectile eventually. So change the ID to something, your own thing, name it there. Value modifier and dual value modifier are usually the ones you want because, well, those are the main destruction archetypes. If you want a destruction spell, it's usually either value modifier or dual value modifier. And then the associated items would be here to change what you're affecting. It doesn't necessarily have to be health. It can be stamina or maybe something more latent, let's say. There are a bunch of properties there. Fire and forget is what we want. Constant effect is like a buff ability, something like that. Concentration is or a debuff maybe. Concentration is a stream like flames. But we want to use a projectile that's fire once, like a semi-auto. Uh, Casting art. So the visual effects are really, well, because a destruction spell is more show than anything else. I mean, the damage is essentially usually the same. It's just a value modifier with nothing advanced in it. Delivery is going to be aimed because we want a we want a projectile. We don't want it to immediately hit the um we don't want it to immediately hit the target actor or be hit at a location on a mesh or something like that. We're shooting a firebolt or something like that. But like I said before, the you would make a custom destruction spell if you want to be showy about something. That is, it's really all about the visual effects when it comes to destruction spells because the damage is just numbers, right? So this is really the core of destruction spells is how you change the visual effects. For the most part, there are some creative spells that do different things, but for the most part, it is this. So just to make the point, let's just switch the casting art to, I don't know, um, I'm just putting random things here. Frost FX shader. Let's change it to make sure that the projectile is something that actually fires in the like beam, for example, is for um, concentration, which I actually accidentally hit right here. It's supposed to be fire and forget, so we don't want beams or anything like that. We want a normal projectile. Impact dataset uh, defines the effects that occur on impact, um, how the mesh looks, what effects are further applied to it, and these are for enchantments. It's not important. If you want an area effect, you would put an explosion and then change the area there, but we're not going to do that. I don't want an explosion. And of course, here are the sounds. That's the description, everything. We want it to be hostile. We want the NPC to know that they're under attack. We want it to be detrimental because it actually damages. We don't want recover, but that basically undoes the effects after a time. FX persist, obvious basically that the effects continue after uh, the dissipation of the actual uh, property modifiers. None of these really we care about other than that. I don't want an area or anything like that. So press OK once you have that. Remember to fire and forget aimed. It's going to be in destruction. One more thing. This is so after the initial hit, this modifies the way that the value is modified, i.e. health. The way that health is modified after the initial hit, the duration of that, and whether this will basically affect how much more damage is going to be incurred. I think there's a graph of this on Creation Kit Wiki. I'll link it. I will link it in the description if I see it. Of course, one more thing, casting time is down here. I'm going to leave that alone. You can play with that. None of these are big deals. So duration, if you wanted to actually have duration after the initial hit, or rather, how much more duration you wanted to have after the initial hit, and also magnitude. But we don't want that. But you can change that if you want. If you don't want duration, you would click that. So once you have that magic effect, spell, new spell, and we're going to put fire and forget because that's what we're looking for. If you don't change it to the right one, it's not going to pop up on the list. We put aimed. Here are some conditions as well as in the magic effects. If you want to basically say under certain conditions, the spell will not affect the target. Magnitude's going to affect damage more than anything else. Well, really, it's going to it's an augmentation on the value modifier. No duration there. We don't care about that, or I do. I don't, at least. So once you're done with that, press OK. Now we're going to go to book. And here, because I don't have things exported, I'm going to just modify a spell tome, destruction spell tome. Again, you can modify this, not a big deal. Here you have to look up your spell, right? So remember, you want something. I mean, you could just open a random book and it'll still be fine, but I imagine you would want the player to know that it's an actual spell tome. So open something like Spell Tome Fireball and edit that. So this is what we have. Okay, now we go to, you open a cell. I imagine you would want to, if you're just starting this package, go to, I don't know, something like Whiterun, some Whiterun place, or Whiterun exterior, somewhere where you could get to easily. Otherwise, some test cell or something like that. So good. Just drag your spell tome in here, wherever you put it. Okay. And I'm going to quickly, let's see. I'm going to drag in a random NPC in here. Yep, and then save it.